Hello, this is Anna Sabramowitz from eLearner Engaged, and today I'm trying a new format because somebody made a suggestion that I should try it. So I am, and also I have a brand new microphone, the Yeti microphone, therefore I'm testing it out. Hopefully this format works for you. It also is cool because it allows me to look at some resources and refer back to them when I need some, instead of writing sticky notes to myself basically and trying to remember what I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to focus on one research paper today, and I do research every week because one, I love to research and try out new things and try out new apps, but also I have a weekly newsletter that I send out. It's called Learning Experience Friday, and it's a synopsis of new things that I've tried and maybe I'm enjoying. Anyways, so today's article or research paper is called Using Concept Maps to Measure Deep, Surface, and Non-Learning Outcomes. And this is research done by David B. Hay, who is from King's College in London. And I can't actually link directly to this document because it is, it would be a mass email. So you'll just have to Google it, and I'll put the words in the comment so you can search for it yourself. I thoroughly recommend you read it. It's fantastic. So here's some of my key takeaways. So basically what they did in this research study is took some adult learners, asked them to create a concept map of their knowledge about a specific topic. Then they gave them instruction, lecture, and discussion on that topic and asked the students to, without looking at the first map, to create a second concept map of their newly constructed knowledge. And so what was really cool is the results that came back. And I'm going to go through some of the details because I want to get into the nitty-gritty of some of the really good outcomes that came out of this research, and maybe why you should be considering using concept maps in helping the quality of your instruction, although there are caveats. So one of the things that was brought up, and learning styles, and we've talked about learning styles to death, and they're not really real. There's no substantial research, and I agree with that. However, what they point out, and this is really cool, is that this is the quote: though instrumental assessment of styles may be flawed, significant benefits can accrue as a consequence of ensuing discussion of different learning processes and approaches. And I totally agree with that. I feel like when you're working with other people and you help them consider the fact that some people enjoy learning certain ways better, or that they need a variety of different kinds of inputs and experiences, each person does, that all of those collude to create knowledge. And so what I feel like the learning styles concept has helped do is to create multiple ways for people to consume the same content, but through different means. And I feel that we should still pursue that very heavily through repeated exposure, repetition, podcasts, videos, written things, so that people just are experiencing it better. So I think we could do that. We could still adopt the learning styles concept without taking it to the wrong level, because it is an unproven concept. The other thing that this research document talked about was Kolbs' learning cycle. And Kolb's learning cycle, and let me just quote this, which I really enjoy using in workshops, is the idea that it suggests that all learning is rooted in experience, and that it comprises steps of reflection, evaluation, and experimentation. And basically, I would suggest you look up Kolb's learning cycle because it is a great sequence to follow actually in learning. So what's cool also about concept maps is that they're actually work just as well if you're doing an online course or workshop, because people usually will use some kind of software, and there's lots of little pieces of software, or they can even write something, draw something, and then take a picture and send it in for others to also see afterwards. So I feel like there's a lot of opportunities with concept mapping, and if you're structuring that well. However, one of the things that they also did, which I think we leave a little bit to chance, is that we don't really teach people when we introduce concept maps. We give them this splatter of just, create a brainstorm, but, brainstorm map, just make it look like a spider web. However, a really good concept map has a specific hierarchy of concepts, also has a clear definition of how the concepts relate together. If something is linked and it's not explained in that link how these things are related, it actually becomes something that you would completely omit from the evaluation. So another thing you'd be doing is, the concept here, what they were trying to do is they were trying to see what the evidence is. Could concept mapping measure deeper learning versus surface learning? So for you to be able to do that, evaluate whether a concept map represents deep learning and surface learning, you have to set up criteria of what you feel and they've actually developed some great criteria that you can obviously borrow. What would indicate to you, looking at two concept maps from before and after, that deep learning has taken place or that it has not? So that was fantastic because you have to set up those measures. Obviously, there's still room for contention, but one of the things that I found is that complexity is actually not indicative of deep learning. Complexity is, you can look at a concept map and think that it is very complex, but then when you evaluate it and actually look at the connections, somebody could have been very intricately putting out words on a page and maybe making some connections, but those connections are very surface level. And so the other piece is not only looking at obviously the original that they created, but seeing how the second version, after they've learned more about the concept, if that's become more integrated. And here what I loved is that they were able to say that what they wanted to see as a result of deep learning is people taking their original concepts, which is what a lot of adult learners obviously come in with, is their own ideas about what something is, even if it is very broad, and then taking that framework and into it incorporating the new information and making better and moving some things around, making better connections. It's a fabulous way to look at learning, because sometimes you could actually look. They showed you 3 different examples. And what you realized is that, or is it 4? Maybe it's 4. What you realized is that there was a really cool comparison of somebody who had really broad knowledge about the topic, didn't know very much, but their journey, their growth was so significant for them, and so you're able to see the concepts emerge, and there were individually. So you see personal growth, and I love the idea of having a portfolio where the personal development is there's certain standards you have to meet, let's say, but the personal development of those concepts is very much individual, and it almost gives you a chance to be more fair in your assessments, because some people are coming in with more intel and they're able to make better connections because they have a bigger body of knowledge, but then some are coming in with less. But if you still are able to see them make better connections, then it is actually a good learning experience for them. So it's not to be dismissed. The other thing is that at the very end, they said something quite blatantly, obviously something that I didn't consider, is we stress deep learning and surface learning, and I could see the 2 different concept maps from different people, and sure, there was no growth for the surface learning person as far as making connections. They threw away a whole bunch of stuff, so they didn't really maybe know it. But as far as application in the real world, would this actually make a difference in performance? How does it manifest itself? Does somebody's deeper understanding of something actually give them an advantage in the real world when they're making decisions? I don't know. And they said that they didn't know either. So there are certain things that this can definitely help you, concept mapping can definitely help you do, which is you can evaluate the connections between what students are learning. So you could see the new peripheral pieces that have been added since you've presented your content, which gives you an idea of whether you're stressing the right things, whether you're being clear, and how your content is, how your instruction and the discussions that you're leading, how they are related to the interpretations that your students are having. And then the other piece is that, like I said before, a great way to showcase a portfolio piece as far as like the growth over time, and also something that you could potentially show to other instructors if you wanted to. And a great way to measure, and I think that was really the big piece that I've seen concept maps being used for before, is that it's very hard for either adults and also children to show the breadth of their knowledge and the complexity of, you could give them a test, but it's not necessarily an accurate assessment of, or evaluation or representation of what they have in their minds. Not to say that a concept map will do all that for you. However, it's probably a better representation when you're seeing the initial concept map and then somebody really building on it. So that's why I feel like you do have to invest a little bit of time up front to educate people on how to make a really good concept map, what a great concept map looks like, and the criteria behind the hierarchy, the structures, the connections, so that the first concept map is a pretty good representation of their knowledge. And then the second one is obviously more refined, but also a building on that. So I really am looking forward to actually implementing these in my upcoming workshops and courses. So yeah, hope you found this useful and helpful, and I will put a Google search idea underneath in the comments. And if you have any questions or any ways that you're using concept maps, or you'd like to, or you're looking for software, you're using software that is worked really well for you, has worked well for you, let me know, and I will see you next time. Take care.